Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome into Matlock Mr. Stadium here at Earlham College in game two of our doubleheader. And if you're joining us or coming back from the first game, welcome back. This is our opening day in conference for our men's team as the Quakers take on Mount St. Joe University Lions. Our women's team fell to the Lions 2-0 a few moments ago. We'll see how our men's team fares against the Lions. Again, opening day, we're going to keep you updated in all of HCAC play throughout the game. Both teams coming in after struggling in the preseason. Mount St. Joe coming in at 2-8, and the Quakers coming in at 1-6-2 for the preseason. But again, opening day in conference, so everybody's record goes to 0-0. We're about 5 minutes away from the start of the game. We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we'll have the stats leading up to today's matchup and the starting lineups for each team.
Some people are born lucky. Other people take luck into their own hands, avoid stepping on sidewalk cracks, and wouldn't dare walk under a ladder. But whether you're born with luck or make your own, when it comes to your insurance coverage, luck should have nothing to do with it. So talk to Indiana Farm Bureau Insurance today or visit them online at infarmbureau.com to purchase an auto policy. Indiana Farm Bureau Insurance. Stop knocking on wood.
Questions about your coverage in Wayne County? Call 765-962-9548 and ask for me, Kevin Shearer.
Since 1994, Beach Automotive has provided motorists in the Richmond area with the most comprehensive auto repair services that include general services, car and truck care, alignment, brakes, tires, engine, transmission, and more. Their goal is simple: to offer the best services available at affordable prices to get you back on the road in no time. For a high-performance vehicle, trust Beach Automotive. To learn more, give them a call at 765-966-8181. Beach Automotive, 110 East Main Street, Richmond.
Big Boy's Pizza is now open in Richmond, located at 1015 East Main Street, next door to the Civic Theater. The menu has great sandwiches, pasta, salads, and of course, pizza. Come dine in, carry out, or have your food delivered day or night, at home or at the office. Other locations are in Connorsville and Brookville. Bring in a sports ticket after any game and receive 10% off your purchase. Ticket must be dated for the same day as your purchase. Dine in, take out, or delivery. Big Boy's Pizza. 765-488-0023. Kate's Cages is the #1 indoor training facility for baseball and softball in Richmond by far. With top-flight instructors, you will learn how to play the game the right way. Everything from pitching, hitting, catching, and fielding. Kate's Cages will also have the opportunity to participate in triple play fall ball, the softball academy, individual and team camps, and individual private workouts. Kate's Cages Baseball and Softball Indoor Training Facility, 1366 Rose City Boulevard. Call 993-2353 for more information.
Welcome back to Matlock Mester Stadium. Here we are a couple minutes away from getting the game underway between the Quakers and the Lions. We're going to take a look at the statistics for the Lions coming into today's matchup. They are coming in 2-8 and are currently on a 6-game losing streak after dropping their last game this past Tuesday at Wabash 5-2, and then losing their previous 5 games before that. So coming in at 2-8, and 10 games this year, they have scored 15 goals, averaging 1.5 goals a game on a .144 shooting percentage, 10.4 shots a game, and 4.3 goal attempts a game. And then we're going to look at their starting lineups coming in. Starting at goalkeeper, number 25, Nathaniel Chambers. Then we got number 3, Tyler Sanders. Number 4, Justin Ivis. Number 5, Michael Radcliffe. Number 6, Nicholas Phelps. Number 7, Nathan Schumesser. Number 10, Joshua Bailey. Number 11, Daniel Good. Number 13, Cameron Willis. Number 17, Cameron Middendorf. And number 27, Cole Miracle. That will round out the starting lineups for the Lions. Now taking a look at the Earlham Quakers coming in at 1-6-2, and their only win being their last game at versus McMurray. They won that 3-1. So talk about what coming into conference with momentum. So in 9 games this year, they've only been able to score 5 goals, averaging .56 goals a game on a .086 shooting percentage and only averaging 6.4 shots per game coming into conference play. I'm going to take a look at their starting lineup, starting at goalkeeper, number 0, Colin Cowrich, number 4, Jake Pearson, number 7, Ben Stos-Tesver, number 8, Andrew Bellick, number 11, Jimmy Intichirme, number 15, Jeffrey Duyer, number 16, Caleb Wilgen, number 21, Andrew Stroszewski, number 22, Drew Fitzgibbon, number 25, John Todd, and rounding out the starting lineups for the Quakers is number 31, Luke Caesar. So that is your lineups for today's games. Again, we're going to keep you updated all throughout the HCAC play with the other 4 games going on in today's Saturday, October 4th. We're about a few minutes away from getting this game underway. We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we will have the start of this game for you on the Wesley Bates Wealth Management scoreboard. We'll be right back.
At First Bank Richmond, we provide you with an excellent banking experience. Whether it's personal checking, savings, mortgage loans, consumer loans, retail lending, or trust and investments, you can count on First Bank Richmond. First Bank Richmond has been serving the Richmond area since 1887. For more information, give them a call at 962-2581 or go to their website at firstbankrichmond.com. Georgia Direct is your one-stop source for floor coverings and decorating ideas for remodeling a home, office, kitchen, or bathroom. Their showroom offers quality products from Mohawk, Shaw, Armstrong, Craft-Made, and many more. They proudly offer Richmond the best quality and variety of home design solutions at competitive prices. At Georgia Direct, their goal is to deliver an outstanding customer experience from selection through installation. Georgia Direct Carpets and Cabinets, 5200 National Road East, Richmond. Today's game brought to you in part by Mancino's Pizza and Grinders. Mancino's is family-friendly, serving fresh grinders, pizza, pasta, and salads every day. They serve great food priced for family budgets. Mancino's Italian bread and pizza dough are made from scratch every day, and the baking process may take a little more time, but the end result of freshness and flavor make the real difference in all of Mancino's award-winning products. Mancino's of Richmond. Give them a call at 966-1166 or go to their website, mancinosofrichmond.com. New Vision Sports is a training program that focuses on the training and improvement of the serious-minded athlete, including all ages and skill levels. From creating customized workout plans to providing ongoing motivation and support, New Vision strives to help you achieve your training goals. Their trainers use a variety of effective workout plans based on your specific goals. New Vision Sports, 977-5831, or go to their website, newvisionsports.com. That's New Vision Sports with a Z.
Welcome back to Matlock Messer Stadium. We are set to get the game underway between the Quakers and the Lions of Mount St. Joe. Again, opening day in conference for both of these teams and the HCAC overall. Earlham will start the game off with possession as Fitzgibbon will pass ahead looking for Jimmy. Possession battle between Ethan Getman. Possession goes to the Lions, number 6. Nicholas Phelps trying to pass it off. Possession back to the Quakers. Out of bounds. And already we have a corner kick as the Quakers, number 21, Stroszewski, will do the corner kick for the Quakers. Taking a look at the HCAC for men's soccer as, again, it is opening day for the HCAC. Stroszewski to do the corner kick for the Quakers, and his kick short off of Todd and kicked out by number 4, Justin Ivis. Passed up ahead by number 17, Cameron Middendorf. Kicked out of bounds, and a throw-in coming up for the Lions. All right, dribbling for the Lions, number 10, Joshua Bailey. Passing it ahead, looking for number 5, Michael Ratcliffe. Outside the 18, he takes the shot, collected by the goalkeeper, number 0, Colin Cowrich. So at the HCAC, besides the game going on between the Lions and the Quakers, Franklin and Defiance are underway. Hanover and Manchester, Rose, Homeland, and Bluffton set to kick off. And later on at 4:30, Anderson and Transylvania will kick off. Ball on the Quakers side of the field. Dribbling through number 5, Radcliffe. He will find Ivis. And the pass ahead will be kicked off by Pearson, but collected by number 13, Willis. Trying to dribble through a couple of Quaker defenders, number 27, Miracle. And kicked out of bounds, and the throw-in coming up for the Lions. The throw-in off the head of Miracle and kicked out by Fitzgibbon. Fitzgibbon passes it ahead to Jimmy. Jimmy dribbling, trying to get by number 6, Phelps, inside the 18, but cut off by number 10, Joshua Bailey. And Bailey will pass it out, trying to find Middendorf, but kicked out of bounds. A throw-in coming up for the Quakers. Out of bounds off the Lions, a throw-in coming up for the Quakers. 41-20 remaining in this first half. Number 31, Luke Caesar, will throw it in for Earlham. This is a matchup being picked in the preseason poll. The Mount St. Joe Lions are picked to finish 6th in the conference, and Earlham picked to finish 7th. Mount St. Joe finished 6th last year, while Earlham finished 9th. Goal kick for number 25, Nathaniel Chambers. Radcliffe dribbling for the Lions, passing it up ahead, trying to go to Miracle. Miracle does have possession, and his shot deflected off of number 8, Andrew Bellick. Off the head of Ivis and caught by Cowrich. Off of Dewyer. Radcliffe will pass up ahead to Willis. Cut off by Luke Caesar. Ball back near the midfield circle, and both players collide as Ivis and Jimmy both are on the ground. Ivis tried to head it. Jimmy jumped up and tried to head it and was undercut by Ivis. So both players now slow to get up. We hope both of them are all right. Ivis rises to his feet. Jimmy's still on one knee. 39-38 remaining in the first half. And Jimmy rises to his feet and will walk it off. And looks like he tells the referee he's good to go. Ivis will, looks like he will come off the field being checked out by his trainer. It's an injury timeout. Jimmy trying to run it off. And Ivis will come back into the game. He says he's good. And Jimmy will come back into the game as well. Both players, glad to see both of them on their feet and able to continue playing. Will be a free kick for the Lions, as I think there was a foul on Jimmy. And looks like there will be a substitution, as Ivis will have to come out for a moment, and number 34, Alonzo Garcia Alvarez, the senior out of Clevis, Ohio, will come into the matchup. Jimmy waiting at midfield to check into the matchup. The kick from Garcia off the head of Dewyer. Now back in the game is Jimmy. And approaching the out-of-bounds line, and actually does go out of bounds off of the Quakers. So a corner kick coming up for the Lions. The corner kick from the Lions. Off the head of Todd. Bounced out. And a handball called on number 6, Nicholas Phelps. Actually called on number 11, Daniel Good, excuse me. And Colin Cowrich will have a free kick for the Quakers. Cowrich's kick. Tesver will pass off to Wilgen. Tesver's pass deflected off the line defense. Passed up ahead and out of bounds off the lines. A throw-in coming up for the Quakers. I'm talking about Mont St. Joe. I can recognize the bodies of bartenders. Just the front of the jersey. I can't see Mont St. Joe. Off the head of Good. And now with possession, number 10, Joshua Bailey, who will pass it out to Ivis. Then off the shoulder of Tesver. Ball is on the Quaker side of the field. Jimmy now dribbling. Cut off by number 6, Nicholas Phelps. Tesver dribbling. Approaching the 18th on the Lions side of the field. And coming away with possession is the Lions. Dewyer will pass ahead off of Jimmy, but he is called offsides. And a free kick coming up for the Lions. Off of Tesver. Tesver passes ahead to Strozewski. To Wilgen, back to Jimmy. Jimmy's pass off of number 17, Cameron Middendorf. Approaching inside the 18, Fitzgibbon. But Fitzgibbon has it taken away from him by number 6, Phelps. Kicked out of bounds by the Quakers, and the throw-in coming up for the Lions. .55-56 remaining in the first half. Luke Caesar will throw it in for the Quakers. Joshua Bailey will pass it up ahead to Good. Ball at the midfield circle. Ivis with possession. Pass it off to number 7, Nathan shoe misser. Call against the Lions. Throw in from Caesar. Approaching the 18, Jimmy, but it goes out of bounds, and a corner kick coming up for the Quakers. Stroszewski will have the corner kick for the Quakers. Stroszewski's kick sails over the goal and out of bounds, and a goal kick coming up for Mount St. Joe. Ball still on the Lions side of the field. Ivis has possession and will pass ahead looking for Daniel Good, but cut off by Luke Caesar. Fitzgibbon looking for Jimmy, and Jimmy gets cut off by the goalkeeper Chambers, and he comes out and collects the ball for the Lions and throws it ahead to Daniel Good. Now possession is Joshua Bailey for the Lions. The pass to Willis, and kicked out of bounds by number 25, John Todd. The throw in off of the head of Caesar. Willis will pass it off. And a foul called against Jeffrey Duyer, and a free kick coming up for Mount St. Joe. Number 7, Nathan Schmoozer, will have the free kick for the Lions. Schmoozer's kick will sail right of the post and out of bounds, and a goal kick coming up for Cowrich. 32-15 remaining in this first half. Cowrich will have the goal kick. Off the head of Todd, it was a short kick. Bailey with possession, trying to pass to Willis. Bailey trying to get by Pearson. The pass to Willis cut off by Bellick. And the Quakers now will kick it out to midfield off of number 17, Cameron Middendorf. And kicked out of bounds by the Lions, and a throw-in coming up for the Quakers. Wilgen now dribbling through a couple of Lion defenders. And now with possession is Jimmy. And the Lions now come up with possession in the corner. Willis with possession will pass off to Ivis. jump kick from number 3, Tyler Sanders, inside the 18. The shot from Bailey deflected off of Caesar. Throw in coming up for Mount St. Joe. Under 30 minutes remaining in this first half. And the shot from, but actually it was a violation call on Mount St. Joe. So the shot does not count. And a throw-in coming up for the Quakers. Off of Sanders. Now at the midfield circle, number 17, Cameron Middendorf. Daniel Good's pass is cut off by Andrew Bellick. And it goes out of bounds, and a corner kick coming up for the Lions. Number 11, Daniel Good, will have the corner kick for the Lions. Good's corner kick off of Fitzgibbon and kicked out by Wilgen. And a foul called against the Quakers, against Jimmy. Free kick coming for the Lions. And number 7, Nathan Schmoozer, will have the free kick for Mount St. Joe. Off of Bailey, and now Jimmy with possession, trying to get by Phelps, but Phelps will run down and pass it up ahead. But Wilgen now with possession. Jimmy will kick it across the field looking for Tesver, but number 5, Michael Ratcliffe, comes away with it for the Lions. Pearson will pass it ahead, off the head of Dewyer. Todd. His pass is off the chest of Sanders, but right back to Todd, and he will pass it up ahead, but the only one there is Phelps for the Lions, and Phelps will dribble and pass it up to number 3, Sanders. Taking a look at some of the ACAC action in play. Couple of substitutions, though, for the Quakers, as number 2, Chima Nduku, is in the matchup for Tesver, and number 14, Connor Kimball, is in the game for the Quakers for Jimmy. So those are your subs for the Quakers. Taking a look at the games going on today, is nearing the end of the first half for Franklin and Defiance with 1:42 remaining. It is a 0-0 game. And all the games going on in the ACAC, Mount St. Joe, Earlham, Hanover, Manchester, Rosehome, and Bluffton are all at 0-0. Again, for the Quakers, if you want to follow the live stats, go to goearlham.com. Free kick coming up for Mount St. Joe. Off the head of Caesar, but a foul called against Mount St. Joe. Foul will be on number 27, Cole Miracle. Foul called against the Quakers, number 14, Connor Kimball. So another free kick coming up for Mount St. Joe. Sanders passing ahead off the head of Caesar, but right out to number 17, Cameron Middendorf. Fitzgibbon runs the ball down. Now on the Lions side of the field. And Connor Kimball called offsides for the Quakers. It's a violation, so a free kick coming up for the Lions. 24:35 remaining in the first half. Phelps will have the free kick for Mount St. Joe. Caesar passes it ahead, looking for Kimball, trying to get by Phelps, but Phelps boxes him out. And the pass back to Chambers at goalkeeper. It is high, but short. Goes just behind Wilgen. Daniel Good passes it up to Willis. Willis finds Radcliffe inside the 18, cut off by Chima Nduku. And the shot by Ivis is deflected off of Bellick. And Pearson will kick it away from the 18. And it will sail out of bounds and off of the Lions, and a throw-in coming up for the Quakers. John Todd throws it in for the Quakers to Connor Kimball. And the Quakers coming in 9 games, only scoring 5 goals. So they're definitely not known for their offense. Only averaging 6 shots a game. They have yet to take a shot period in this matchup. Mount St. Joe with 1 shot. Inside the 10, Josh Bailey, and his shot goes into the left upright of the goal, and Mount St. Joe gets on the board off of Josh Bailey's goal, and they now lead 1-0 over the Earlham Quakers. With 22:45 remaining, Mount St. Joe gets on the board. A nice... I didn't think it was. Josh Bailey was able to get by a couple of Quaker defenders, and he got a clear shot and got the left upright of the goal. And the Quakers now trail 1-0. 22:45 remaining in this first half. Waiting for the whistle from the referee before we resume action. As the head referee is talking to the coach of the Lions. Not really sure what the problem is. Head coach for the Lions, and the coach has the referee has instructed the coach to put on a penny. And looking at Josh Bailey before, that is Josh Bailey's first goal on the season. He's appeared in all 10 games and has 3 assists on the season. He's taken 8 shots, but that was his first goal of the season for the Lions. Pearson will kick it ahead. Kimball trying to run it down, but Phelps is there, and he will pass it back to his goalkeeper, Chambers. Chambers will pass it out to Middendorf. Fitzgibbon runs it down, takes it away from Chambers, and he tries to shoot, but he whiffs on it and falls down. And it is kicked away from the 18 by the Lions defenders. And Dooku's pass to Fitzgibbon, and it ends up being kicked out of bounds and a throw-in coming up for the Lions. Coming into the matchup, Justin Ivis, their second leading scorer on the season with 3 goals, and Nathan Schmoozer with 4 goals on the year, their leading scorer. Willis trying to run down, but cut off by Bellick, who kicks it out of bounds, and a throw-in coming up off the head of Pearson. And a collision at the midfield circle. No whistle being blown as Phelps has it taken away from him by Fitzgibbon. Connor Kimball approaching the 18. Kimball's shot will go far out of bounds and behind the goal. So a goal kick coming up for Mount St. Joe. 21 minutes remaining in the first half. Chambers will pass out to Middendorf. Off of Fitzgibbon. Connor Kimball trying to find Strozewski, but kicked out of bounds by Schmoozer. And a throw-in coming up for the Quakers. Luke Caesar will throw it in. Off the head of Kimball, and it will go out of bounds, and the throw-in coming up for the Lions. In the game for his first minutes of action is number 9, Ryoji Fusegi. Deflected off of Caesar, goes out of bounds, and a corner kick coming up from Mount St. Joe. Under 20 minutes remaining in the first half. Daniel Good will do the corner kick for the Lions. Good's corner kick off the head of Todd, and it bounces into the goal off the head of number 4, Justin Ivis, as when Cowridge came out to try to deflect it, he fell down, and Ivis's header goes into the goal, and Mount St. Joe now leads the Quakers 2-0 off the goal from Ivis. That is Ivis's 4th goal on the season for the Lions, and with 19-12, Earlham trails 2-0. Andrew Bellick will pass it up to Fusegi. Caesar. His pass is deflected, and a foul called against Mount St. Joe. A free kick coming up for Earlham. Luke Caesar will have the free kick. Actually, Andrew Bellick will pass it off to Caesar. Caesar dribbling into the corner. And his pass will be kicked out of bounds by number 11, Daniel Good. Caesar will throw it in for the Quakers. Kicked out of bounds once again by Daniel Good. Another throw-in coming up for the Quakers. The throw-in off of number 3, Sanders. And kicked out of bounds by Bellick. And a goal kick coming up for Chambers and Mount St. Joe. Ball still on the Lions side of the field. A throw-in coming up for Mount St. Joe. Foul called against the Quakers. So a free kick coming up for Mount St. Joe. Phelps kick off the head of Fitzgibbon. Connor Kimball now possession for the Quakers. Out of bounds, a throw-in coming up for the Lions. And Middendorf will pass back to Chambers. Bellick now dribbling but cut off by Ivis. Luke Caesar couldn't get to it before Josh Bailey does. Bailey's shot was off of Fuseji and an easy pickup for Cowrich. Kimball goes out of bounds and a throw-in coming up for Mount St. Joe. 15 minutes remaining in the first half. Middendorf will pass it off to Phelps. Sanders will pass it up ahead off the head of number 27, Cole Miracle. But kicked away by Todd. Ivis is there for the Lions. He will give it up to Daniel Good. Luke Caesar's there for the defense for the Quakers, and a foul called against Good, and a free kick coming up for the Quakers. Approaching the 18, Radcliffe was looking for Miracle, but a little too far ahead and kicked out by Caesar. Call goes against the Lions. And a free kick coming up for the Quakers. Cowrich will have the kick for the Quakers. Bounces near midfield off of Good. Willis dribbling for the Lions, and this pass was looking for Bailey, but a little too far ahead and kicked away by Nduku. Fuseji will kick it back to Pearson. Stroszewski's pass is cut off by Middendorf. Ball on the Quakers side of the field. Miracle trying to get by Bellick. And Caesar will kick it up ahead to midfield. But Phelps is there for the Lions. And the whistle blown, a foul called against the Lions. And the free kick is coming up for the Quakers. Caesar dribbling for the Quakers. Looking for Kimball, but caught by Chambers. Chambers will throw it out to Middendorf. Off the head of Caesar. Dewey is there for the Quakers, and he will pass it back to Bellick. Kicked out of bounds, a throw-in coming up for the Lions. And in the second half, Defiance leads Franklin 2-0. Hanover and Manchester still 0-0. Rose-Hulman and Bluffton still 0-0. Both games still in the first half. Kicked away by Bellick. Connor Kimball cuts off Middendorf. And Kimball will kick it out of bounds, and the throw-in coming up for the Lions. Off the head of Todd. And Dooku passes ahead to Fuseju, gives it right back. And Dooku dribbling, now past midfield. Pass, trying to look for Kimball, but cut off by Phelps. Throw in from Caesar off of Strozuski. No, off of Garrett Shaw. Lions with possession, deep in Quaker territory. Radcliffe inside the 18. He will take the shot off the hands of Cowridge and kicked out by Bellick. Todd now in a foot race with Ivis. And will pass ahead, trying to find Fitzgibbon, but Phelps is there, and he will pass it back to Chambers, his goalkeeper. Dewey, slide kick back to Nduku. Luke Caesar will pass it up ahead, trying to find Shaw. Chasing it down before it goes out of bounds. And it does go out of bounds, and the referee says off of the Lions, and a corner kick coming up for the Quakers. Number 13, Shaw, will have the corner kick for the Quakers. 7:50 remaining in the first half. And his corner kick caught by the goalkeeper, Chambers. Chambers will throw it out to Middendorf. Sanders runs it down, but referee says he was out of bounds, and a throw-in coming up for the Quakers. Fuseji will pass off to Kimball. He tries to pass it back, but the Lion defenders were there. Ball kicked out of bounds by number 14, Will Cecil. Cecil seeing his first minutes in today's game. Trying to find Radcliffe, but kicked away by Todd. Out of bounds, a throw in coming up for Earlham. Throw in from Caesar out of bounds off of Fuseji, and a throw in now coming up for the Lions. Middendorf will throw it in for Mount St. Joe. Off the head of Cecil. And off of number 27, Miracle. And the throw in now coming up for the Quakers. Ivis now with possession from Mount St. Joe. He will pass it off to Sanders. Sanders now kicks it deep into Quaker territory. Bounces off the head of Pearson. And Todd kicks it high right in front of Daniel Good. And he heads it, but Rio G. Fuseji is there. Ball kicked away by Bellick. Bounces in front of Middendorf. Shaw passes up to Fitzgibbon. Fitzgibbon looking for Kimball. Kimball's pass is cut off, but the shot by number 13, Shaw, goes over the goal, and a goal kick coming up for Mount St. Joe. Shaw looks like did not want to put that much power on it. We're at 3:40 remaining in the first half. Earlham trails 2-0. Goal kick from Chambers off the head of Fuseji. Dewyer. Pass is cut off by Bailey. Connor Kimball now with possession. He will pass back to Chima Nduku. Ball kicked out of bounds. A throw in coming up for the Quakers. Ivis passes it up ahead off the head of Pearson. Fuseji will pass off to Caesar. Fuseji now passes to Shaw. Approaching the 18. Fuseji cut off by Bailey. Nice defensive play from Bailey and kicked out by number 34, Alonzo Garcia Alvarez. Ball still on the Lions side of the field. Radcliffe dribbling, and he will pass it ahead. Out of bounds, a throw-in now coming up for Mount St. Joe. Couple of substitutions as number 2, Sergio Doyle, into the game, and number 23, Zachary Teji, in for number 11, Good, and number 27, Miracle. Bailey dribbling by Dewyer. Whistle blown, foul. Call goes against the Lions. And Cowridge will have the free kick for the Quakers. We're approaching 1 minute remaining in the first half. Nice defensive play from Fuseji. Kicks it out of bounds, so a throw-in now coming up for the Lions. We're at 50 seconds. Bailey at the midfield line will pass it up to Ivis. Off the head of Radcliffe. And ball's at the midfield line. Bailey's trying to get by Nduku. He will pass it off to Garcia. Middendorf will pass it up ahead to number 23, Zachary Teji. Luke Caesar with possession. We are under 20 seconds. Ryoji Fusetti trying to get by Bailey. And with 5 seconds left, that's going to run out the clock. 1-0. So that is the end of the first half. Mount St. Joe leads the Quakers 2-0. Halftime is 15 minutes. We're going to take a break. When we come back, we will have the first half stats and what to look forward to in the second half. Mount St. Joe leads 2-0 on the Wesley Bates Wealth Management scoreboard, and we will be back.
The Red Devils lose on the road at McCutcheon, but I think a game that might have been a little bit closer than that score indicates. Head coach Tony Sonsini back with us again this week, and we had a chance to talk a little bit before we start the interview, and you'd mentioned the one thing about it is, and I think it's great that their coach complimented your team on how hard you played and how hard you guys hit, and unfortunately, though, those injuries just keep adding up for you, don't they?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, McCutcheon's a great team. They're very physical. So to have a coach come over and say, hey, the score doesn't indicate how hard your guys has played, that makes us as a coaching staff feel good as a team. But at the end of the day, a win's a win, a loss a loss. So, little things we can build on and improve on and keep getting better. But our kids fought hard, and, we just try to go in tomorrow and be ready to play.
Coach, what was the difference when you look back at it? You said you had a couple of opportunities in there early, and your defense played well, and just a couple of big plays kind of got them ahead of you.
Oh, absolutely. We had they had 3 big plays, which resulted in 3 touchdowns in the first half. So they really weren't moving the ball down the field. It was just a big play to us. Offensively, we moved the ball well between the 30s. We just would get to the 30 and we'd stall out for whatever reason. So the focus this week is finish. We got to finish the drive. We have to finish the play. We have to finish the opportunity. So that's important that our kids understand that focus. But, my hat's off to McCutcheon. They had a good game plan. They tried to take away some stuff. But we had opportunities. We missed wide open receivers, or we wouldn't stay on our block long enough to get Wyatt that extra 5 or 6 yards that could have broke it. When Wyatt touches the ball, you never know what's going to happen. So we got out of the game, pretty healthy, but we're still banged up. But we'll keep fighting, and we'll keep striving to get better, and it doesn't get any better this week. Lafayette Jeff's really good, number 2 team in the state, but our kids are ready to take on the challenge.
In a game like McCutcheon, it'll be the same thing on Friday night against Lafayette Jeff, and your margin of error becomes a little bit smaller, doesn't it? So that you say, well, some fan may say, well, a couple extra yards here and there, but that makes a big difference.
Oh, it makes a huge difference. I mean, we have 52 guys on our roster. McCutcheon was around 75. Lafayette's around 100. When you have that many dudes, it does matter.
Yeah.
So we just got to keep, we got to keep battling. We got to keep heading in the right direction. I keep telling my team and I keep telling my coaches and myself this is a process. It's not going to get fixed overnight. It's not going to be fixed day to day. All we got is all we need, and we just got to keep moving forward.
And it is hard though. I know it's hard on you, hard on the coaches, but the patience that you have to have now really needs to kind of show, doesn't it? I know you well enough to know that it's hard, so it's kind of difficult.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. I mean, you get frustrated about the little things. You can't do anything about injuries. You can't do anything about sickness. You just got to kind of push through it and help the kids. There's a big difference between being hurt and being injured. Football, you're going to get hurt. You're going to have some things that hurt on your body, but you got to push through it. When you're injured, you can't practice, can't play, and that's what we're dealing with right now. We had some kids that were dinged up and hurt, and then they turned into injuries because they didn't take care of themselves in the training room. So that's just little things that we'll work on, and it all starts in the off season when you have a full year with the team to get them stronger and work on those little things.
It is admirable, and I know when you mentioned some players have come and told you, well, in fact, they didn't tell you they were injured, and they're trying to play through it. At least that gives you a pretty good idea that they're not willing just to give up quite so easily, are they?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we had some kids that have toughed out some things that were injured, and you go back and you look at film, you're like, why are you not running this correctly, or what's going on? You're like, and the coach, I'm in a lot of pain, but I want to keep playing. I want to play hard for you and for your team. So that's a good testament of what we're trying to build this program on, and toughness, and get it back to the tradition that Richmond used to have. So, again, it's a process. We'll get through it, but we just got to battle tomorrow night.
Coach, when you look at a game like McCutcheon, I guess I'd have to look back, and we talked about it a little bit last week. You have a full day of school, and it's not an excuse, but I still think it's a factor. Full day of school, you got to find a way to feed them at some point in there. You get on the bus, you have the long bus ride there. The kids are expected to come out and play. You're playing a very good football team. It's just not an easy day. I mean, you're talking about that would make all of us tired to go from, I don't know what time the kids get up, but they got to be in school by
8 o'clock, roughly.
8 o'clock.
Yeah.
So think about that. 8 until what time do you get home?
I think we're
Midnight
home
or
about
later?
midnight, a little after midnight.
So
yeah.
that's a long day.
It's a long day, and it's a commitment. Playing football is a commitment. Being in the NCC, we have the longest travel, so that's just kind of something we got to get used to. And it's the first time that I ever went to McCutcheon. We got out there in plenty of time. We didn't hit any traffic, luckily, so that was nice. We had plenty. We had an ample amount of time to warm up, get our kids taped, get ready. But you still got to get the kids excited to play football after being on a bus ride for 2.5, 3 hours, and then they're sitting around for a little bit. So that's the problem with the long trips. Our last road trip of the season, unless sectionals who we draw, is only an hour. Anderson's an hour and 15 minutes by bus, so that's good. But it was nice that we only had one long road trip this year.
Yeah, very true. Coach, you'd already mentioned Lafayette, Jeff, but before we get to them, and you're going to see, fans will figure it out too after seeing them in the previous years. They love to throw. But how healthy are you now? And that's a factor right now too. We mentioned Jake Haynes and then DeMarco Owens last time. They didn't play. And then, of course, White was here a little bit ago. He's still not 100%. So where do you stand right now?
Yeah, I mean, we have about 7 starters that haven't played. They've been out. I will never disclose injuries or who's out, but we got about 7 starters right now that are banged up that possibly won't touch the field tomorrow night. And then we have a few backups that would step right in and help us that are banged up that probably won't touch the field tomorrow night. So, we got some guys that are hurt, but the guys that we're going to put out there, we've coached them up all week, and we've got them in the right spot, got them lined up, but some of them have not played a varsity game. So when the lights come on Friday night, unfortunately it's coming on against Jeff, the number 2 team in the state, but they'll figure it out quick, and we're totally confident in the guys we're putting out there. We've had a great week of practice and preparation, and it's been a fun week of practice. Our kids are ready to play, but they also, it's a tough task when a team that has, they have 3,000 students coming in here, and we have 1,200. So I mean, Jeff's a great program, and 4 or 5 years ago, it was the opposite. Richmond's trending. Richmond's won a few NCCs. Richmond's beating Jeff, and that this coach took over, and he's flipped the program. So this is where we want to be in a couple years down the road after me being here. So, and the coaching staff, and we stay together. So it's just going to show these kids what a good program, what looks like, what we're trying to build. But injuries do add up, but you got to have depth. One of my famous sayings that my coach says, if you have 2 linebackers, you got none.
Yeah.
So you got to have 4 guys, so you always rotate. So we'll make it happen. We'll play who we got, and they'll play hard.
I'm not going to jump in a commentary because you know how I feel about the North Central Conference, but I still believe at some point somebody's going to have to address, when you're considering the Tech and McCutcheon and Lafayette Jeff and some of these schools that are 2,500, 3,000 students, and Richmond's on probably the lower end of the 1,400 mark, and you feel about Muncie and and Anderson though now, but they've jumped up as well. And what they're doing is that when you're on the lower half like that, you're trying to find kids to play football where you only have a few students to choose from, where they've got 3,000-4,000.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, obviously we know Jeff's enrollment's growing. McCutcheon, Harrison, those guys their enrollment's growing.
Yeah.
The whole side of Lafayette's just blowing up. Now that they've combined some IPS schools, Tech's the biggest one.
Yep.
Anderson's getting bigger. They have one high school, so they're getting bigger. Central's a little bigger than us now when they, since they combined. I think the only school we're bigger than in the NCC right now is Marion.
Mm-hmm.
I think Logansport and us are really close, but we don't have most of you have 3 or 4 teams I think are 4A. The rest are 5 or 6A. Yeah. So that does make a big difference in football, just because football you have to have 11 working bodies.
Yeah.
Where basketball, you only have 5 people on the court. 3 people. On the basketball court, they're really good. You can compete for a state title. You have 2 guys that are really good. Now you're competing. You're going to win games.
Yeah.
So, and baseball's, you got a couple good arms you can win. So, when you look at sports, and how it affects people, football, the enrollment really does matter, because you're limited on who you got.
Yeah.
And that's where we're at. But, like I said earlier, all we got is all we need. Whoever comes out and plays football is going to play hard and do things the right way. And we're going to compete the best we can and whoever we're against.
Before I get to Jeff, and sorry about the commentary, but to me, it feels like, and you guys are going to do the best job you can to get kids to play football, but we know the studies are saying that it's harder and harder to just get kids to play sports. It's been the lowest it's been in 30 years. This study came out just a few weeks ago, and football is a part of that. So when you don't have as many kids participating, it makes your job a little bit tougher, doesn't it?
I got to put on my recruiting hat like I'm back in college coaching again. So you got to recruit kids. You got to make it fun. You got to make it exciting, and you have to show them that the product's going to be there. I think if you would ask one of my 52 players, they would tell you that the program's heading in the right direction, and they like what they see, and they like what they're a part of. And so that's what you want, because they're going to be your biggest recruiting tool. They're going to get their friends to come out and play, and it's all about commitment. And that's the biggest thing this generation lacks, is being committed. It's too easy for these kids just to quit. They're playing a video game, they're losing. Oh, I'm off it. I'm turning it off. I can quit and just reset the button.
That's right.
You can't reset it when you're on the football field and you're not winning.
Yeah.
You got to keep battling, and that's what we're trying to teach is life's not that easy. It's not you just put the remote down and say, oh, I'm off it, I quit. And that's what the kids, that's their famous term word. Hey, I'm off this. I don't want to do it.
Yeah.
And that's not how life works. So football is going to teach you a lot of life lessons.
Yeah, very true. Well, I'll tell you what, the Broncos, pretty good football team.
Absolutely.
I go back over the years, and I remember Vlaha George, one of their quarterbacks, 1 year 500 and some yards passing, and they still love to throw the football around, and a little bit of a slump there, but now they're back, as you said, one of the top teams in the state, and unless the numbers are lying to me, they still like to throw it around.
Oh, they like throw. I mean, they're an RPO team. They're going to read. They're going to formation you to death, but they're going to throw it. Their head coach Pat, he's a great guy, but he comes from a system where they mix it all up. They get everybody involved. They like to formation you. They like to outflank you. They like to make you mess up in alignment, and then their quarterback read it and they take advantage of it. So, we got our hands full defensively, stopping their offense. I mean, their offense is putting up ridiculous numbers. We just got to keep playing. We got to play through it. I think that they've scored a lot of points all year long. I think their lowest point total was against Harrison.
Mm-hmm.
But other than that, they put 72 points up against West Lafayette, who's a very good team.
Yeah.
So they can score. They can score any given time. They put the ball in some of their guys' hands. So we have to be very sound defensively. And their defense is, very stingy too. They got some guys on the defensive side of the ball with already offers that have already committed. So, they're going in the right direction. They're number 2 in the state for a reason in 6A. So there's people out there across the state that think they're pretty good as well.
Yeah, and I think I'll put the numbers up here on their screen a little bit. I think they're averaging well over 50 points per game. I think they're at 600 and some total offense, or it might be total yards in everything. But, yeah, high-powered offense for sure. And the other thing is, though, you can score against them a little bit, and I don't think they mind too much because they think they can just outscore you. So.
I'm friends with one of their defensive coaches, and their defense is getting better each week, but their offense is got it going. When their offense can score very quick, they want to get the ball back in the offense's hands. So they're trying to be they're trying to be not, I don't want to say creative, but they're trying to make you turn the ball over. They're trying to just get you in third down situations where they stop you and you punt, and because they want the ball back, and they, like I said, they can score at any given moment.
Welcome back to Matlock Messer Stadium here at Earlham College. We are set to get the second half underway between Mount St. Joseph Lions and the Earlham Quakers. Earlham trailing 2-0 after 2 goals from the Lions, one from Bailey and one from Ivis. So Earlham's going to try to battle back in this second half. Again, this is the opening day in conference. We're going to keep you updated with all the scores of all the HCAC conference games going on right now and give you the stats. And if you want to, again, follow the stats, go to goearlham.com for the live stats. Giving you the live stats of the first half. Mount St. Joe with 5 shots. All 5 shots are shots on goal. 3 corner kicks and 3 fouls, and obviously 2 goals. Earlham with 2 shots, no shots on goal, and 3 saves, 3 corner kicks, 2 offsides, and 3 fouls. And that is the stats of what's going on so far up to date. And 44 minutes remaining in this second half for Earlham to try to make a run and get back into this matchup. And Mount St. Joe is going to try to add on more to put this game away. A corner kick coming up for Mount St. Joe. Ivis will do the kick. Corner kick off the head of Strozewski. And the shot from Ivis sails over the goal, and a goal kick coming up for Cowrich. Off the head of Duyer. Ryoji Fuseji will pass up ahead to Strozewski. Tries to pass back, but nice defensive play from Radcliffe. Ball out of bounds, and a throw-in coming up for Mount St. Joe. For the first half, right? Yeah. Ball on the Quaker side of the field. Throw in coming up for Mount St. Joe. Sanders will throw it in. Cut off by Todd. Falls in front of Wilgen. Fitzgibbon in a foot race. But Jimmy is called for offsides. So Another offsides call called against the Quakers. And a free kick for Mount St. Joe. Kicked out of bounds off of Strozewski. So throwing now coming up for Mount St. Joe. Off of Schmoozer. Approaching the 18, but offsides called on the Lions. So a free kick now coming for the Quakers. Cowridge coming with the kick. Off of Dewyer. The throw in coming up for the Lions. Off of Ibis. And Fuseji will kick back to Cowrich. Out of bounds, a throw in now coming up for the Quakers. Throw in coming in from Mount St. Joe. Sanders will throw it in from Mount St. Joe. On the Quakers side of the field, Radcliffe will pass it back to Sanders. Cut off by Strozewski, kicks it out of bounds, and the throw in coming up for Mount St. Joe. Inside the 18, Fitzgibbons went outside of the net. So a goal kick now coming up for Mount St. Joe. 38-20 remaining in the second half. Off the head of Pearson. Luke Caesar trying to find Fitzgibbon, but cut off by Daniel Good. Whistle blown, foul against the Quakers, and a free kick coming up for Mount St. Joe. Number 4, Ibis, will have the kick for Mount St. Joe. Ball sails out of bounds, and a goal kick coming up for Cowrich and the Quakers. Goal kick from Cowrich is short, off the head of Miracle. Bellick will pass back to Cowrich. Caesar had it taken away from him by Good. Good trying to find Radcliffe, but Pearson is there. And the shot from Miracle sails high and out of play. So another goal kick coming up for the Quakers. Off of Fuseji. Jimmy now will pass it up to Fuseji, approaching the 18. The pass back to Jimmy, but it's far in front, and Chambers comes out and collects it. Phelps will kick it away from the 18 right at the midfield line. Todd is there, and he will pass it off to Dewyer. Andrew Bellick will get by Cameron Willis. Luke Caesar gets tripped up by Daniel Good. Whistle goes against Good, and the foul on the Lions. And a free kick coming up for the Quakers. Bellick's pass off of Jimmy. Fuseji outside the 18, deep in the corner. His pass off the head of Jimmy, and it goes into the goal for the Quakers' goal. And now the Quakers have cut the lead in half and now trail 2-1. Fuseji with the beautiful pass and a beautiful header from Jimmy, and the Quakers get on the board and now only trail 2-1 with 35 minutes and 9 seconds remaining in this second half. So now the Quakers back into the game and have a little bit momentum on their side. Still 35 minutes remaining in the game for a chance to tie it or maybe win it. Josh Bailey dribbling for the Lions now on the Quakers side of the field. His pass cut off by Fitzgibbon. Wilgen will pass it back to Todd. Jake Pearson will pass it far up ahead, trying to find Fitzgibbon, but Middendorf is there for the Lions. Foul called against the Quakers, so a free kick coming up for the Lions. Ivis's kick off the feet of Bailey, but they sail over the goal, and a goal kick coming up for the Quakers. Quakers got whistle blown. Head referee looks like he's going to go talk to the head coach of the Quakers, Aaron Gustine. 33-23 remaining in the second half. Not sure what the issue is, but Gustine's taking some issue to something going on the field. Head coach and the head referee still discussing. And referee walks away, and play will resume. The kick from Cowrich right to Fuseji. Sanders' knee to Bailey, cut off by Dewyer. Dewyer now with possession for the Quakers. He will pass it up ahead to Fuseji. Fuseji dribbling will pass to Strozewski. Strozewski trying to get by Ivis, but Ivis comes away with it for the Lions. Pearson is there for the Quakers. Radcliffe's pass off the head of number 13, Garrett Shaw. Chambers will kick it far into Quaker territory as he was able to beat Jimmy to the ball. Daniel Good will pass it back to Schmoozer. Ball kicked out of bounds. A throw-in coming up for the Lions. Hell, if I'm one of those student workers, I'd be chilling if them kids are going to do the work for me. I know, I'd be leaned up against the fence just chilling. Because he's smart. I'm going to let these kids do the work. Jimmy now with possession at the midfield, but tracked down from number 17, or actually number 10, Bailey. Ball kicked out of bounds off of the Quakers, so a throw-in coming up for the Lions. Off the head of Todd. Back to Phelps. Bailey now dribbling for the Lions, approaching the 18. His pass cut off by Bellick. Nice play from Bellick. Bellick, a sophomore out of Oxford, Ohio. Wilgens pass, trying to feed Jimmy in the 18. Phelps comes away with the possession. And now at midfield, Bailey will pass it ahead. Willis. Back to Bailey. Pass it across field to Radcliffe. Radcliffe now by Todd. Radcliffe shot still far right of the goal. And a goal kick coming up for Cowridge and the Quakers. Dewyer will pass to Bellick. Ball still on the Quakers side of the field. We're at 29-25 remaining in the game. And the shot from number 27, Miracle, goes through the legs of Colin Cowridge. He bent down through his knees to try to scoop it, and it went through him. And it went into the goal, and now Mount St. Joe leads 3-1 with 29:15 remaining in the second half. And it looked like just a mental mistake from Cowridge as he was there. He got down on his knees to save it and maybe took his eye off it before he had possession, and it went through. Went through his arms and went through his legs and went into the net. So now Earlham back to trailing by 2. And the pass looking for Jimmy, but Chambers comes out and collects it for the Lions. Ivis passing it to Sanders, but taken away by Fuseji. Foul called against Jimmy. And a free kick coming up for the Lions. Sanders will kick it far ahead. It will sail. Actually, Cowridge will let it go out of bounds, and a goal kick coming up for the Quakers. Substitution on the play for the Lions. Willis will check out at number 14. Will Cecil will come in the game for Mount St. Joe. Out of bounds, throw in for Mount St. Joe coming up. Off the head of Pearson. Bailey will pass it ahead looking for Ivis. Fitzgibbon is there for the Quakers, and he will pass all the way back to Bellick. Bellick will pass ahead, and Fuseji is called for offsides. And a free kick coming up for Mount St. Joe. And I guess if you're Earlham, you got to, take the chance. You're down by 2 with 25 minutes remaining. Being a little bit more aggressive on these offside calls. Kick from Chambers will sail all the way to Cowridge on the other side of the field. Cowridge's kick drops at midfield. Miracle will pass off to Daniel Good. Good dribbling, was looking for Cecil, but it rolls out of bounds, and a throw-in coming up for the Quakers. Another throw-in coming up for Earlham. Off of Shaw. Ball still on the Quakers side of the field. The throw in from Mount St. Joe. Cowridge will come out and grab. Mount St. Joe passing it up ahead. Again, in this half, Mount St. Joe spending a lot of time on the Quakers side of the field. Kicked out of bounds by the Quakers, so a throw-in coming up for Mount St. Joe. Off the head of Pearson. Ball rolls out of bounds, and a throw-in coming up for Mount St. Joe. The throw-in from Mount St. Joe, as Todd and Radcliffe both go down. No call was on the play. Cowridge's kick off the head of Wilgen. Ball was out of bounds. A throw-in. Todd was going too fast, but the referee stops the game. And Connor Kimball will come in for Todd. 23-10 remaining in this second half. The throw in from the Quakers all the way back to Bellick. Shaw will pass it back to Cowrich. Pearson will pass it far ahead in front of Jimmy, off of Phelps and right to Sanders for the Lions. Bailey now dribbling onto the Quaker side of the field for Mount St. Joe. He will pass it up ahead to Miracle. And his pass cut in front of by Andrew Bellick. Bellick passes it far ahead. Connor Kimball and Jimmy both running it down. 2-on-2. Kimball's shot off the top of the crossbar. Still in play. Fuseji is there for the Quakers, but a missed opportunity for the Quakers as it just missed the goal by a few inches and hit the top of the crossbar. Bellick will line it up and take the shot, and it goes far left, and it will sail out of bounds. And according to the referee, Bellick's shot was actually deflected, so a corner kick coming up for the Quakers. And number 13, Shaw, will have the corner kick for Earlham. Corner kick from Shaw, off the head of Sanders, and then it will go out of bounds off the head of Connor Kimball, and a goal kick coming up for Mount St. Joe. Substitution as number 34, Alonzo Garcia Alvarez will come in for number 4, Justin Ivis. Approaching 20 minutes remaining left in the game. Fuseji coming out the game for the Quakers, and number 7, Ben Stosdesver, checking in. Chambers kick short, bounces in the midfield circle. Wilgen is there. Dewey will pass ahead to Jimmy, but ran down by Phelps, who will pass it up ahead to Radcliffe. And Radcliffe will pass it up ahead off the head of Bellick. Phelps for the Lions will pass it up ahead to Radcliffe. Pearson up to Tesver. Wilgen now dribbling for the Quakers. Looking for Fitzgibbon, but the pass cut off by Middendorf. Now the Lions are on the move as Miracle dribbling. And ball is kicked out of bounds by the Quakers, so a corner kick coming up for Mount St. Joe. And number 11, Daniel Good, will do the kick for the Lions. And Good actually slipped as he was kicking the corner kick. And ball was kicked out of bounds by the Quakers. And a throw-in now coming up for Mount St. Joe. And we will have an injury timeout. Daniel Good went down, as I said, as he was kicking the corner kick. He slipped. And it looks like it's just cramping as his teammate goes over to stretch him out. So, but right now we do have an injury timeout for the cramp. As Good is trying to get stretched out by the athletic trainers. And while he's being stretched out, we're going to take a quick break. Earlham trailing 3-1 on the Wesley Bates Wealth Management scoreboard. And we will be right back.
Today's game brought to you in part by Mancino's Pizza and Grinders. Mancino's is family friendly, serving fresh grinders, pizza, pasta, and salads every day. They serve great food priced for family budgets. Mancino's Italian bread and pizza dough are made from scratch every day, and the baking process may take a little more time, but the end result of freshness and flavor make the real difference in all of Mancino's award-winning products. Mancino's of Richmond. Give them a call at 966-1166 or go to their website, mancinosofrichmond.com.
Welcome back to Matlock Mester Stadium. Play is set to resume. A couple of substitutions. Luke Caesar back in the game now for the Quakers. The throw-in from the Lions goes out of bounds off of the Quakers, so another corner kick coming up for MSJ. Corner kick from the Lions, well defended by the Quakers. Coming in for the Lions for Daniel Good is number 21, Noah Widener. Andrew Bellick will kick it far ahead off of Caesar. And a foul called going against, and actually, foul call going against the Lions. A free kick coming up for the Quakers. Pearson will do the kick for Earlham. 17:45 remaining in this second half. And a handball called against Sanders. So another free kick coming up for the Quakers, and it was just outside the 18. So a free kick for the Quakers, just outside the 18. Looks like Shaw will have the kick for Earlham. Either Shaw or Stroszewski will kick it for Earlham. I couldn't be one of those dudes in front. Like, I'd be damned if you hit me. And he tries to pass it to Bellick, and Mount St. Joe defends it very well. Not quite sure what Earlham was trying to do right there. Yeah, but stoppage in play. As referees get together and talk to each other, I'm not sure quite what happened. But the referees are getting together to talk about what just happened, and we will see what the call is. A yellow card has come out. Looks like number 3, Sanders, picks up a yellow card for MSJ. Still a stoppage in play. 16-16 remaining in the second half. A yellow card has been given to Mount St. Joe, number 3, Sanders. And referees are now talking to the head coaches of Earlham, because it looked like Looks like because Bellick took a shot from Sanders, and right now the head referee explaining to Coach Gustine what the call was made that was made. And Coach Gustine is not happy, but either way, referee gives a yellow card, and we're going to resume action. Chambers will have the kick, and he will pass it off to Phelps. Connor Campbell passed it off to Wilgen. He was trying to find Caesar, but deflected off of Schmoozer. A couple of players hit the deck, and the call goes against the Quakers. And free kick coming up for MSJ, and another stoppage in time as the head referee is looks like he's saying something to fans, and mainly it looks like the women's soccer team he's talking to for Earlham, telling them to get away from the fence, I guess. And looks like he's waiting until they move. So yeah, the women's soccer team have been instructed to move from the spots that they were at, and referees made it clear action and play will not resume till they do. Looks like the head athletic trainer for Earlham is telling the team to move, and he looks pissed in the way he is pepping his step. Whistle blows, and we will resume action. That walk was hilarious. I'm gonna give a damn what anybody says. Bill was moving. But the way he was walking was funny as hell. Tesver will pass it back to Pearson. We're at 15:20 remaining in this second half. Miracle will pass back to Radcliffe. Ball is on the Quakers side of the field. Wilgen now dribbling for the Quakers. Cut off by Cecil. Back to Radcliffe approaching the 18. In front of Pearson. But nice defensive play from Pearson. Caesar gets tripped up by number 6, Phelps. Ball all the way back. Pearson will pass it off to Cowrich. Ball out of bounds. A throw-in coming up from Mount St. Joe. few substitutions for each team. Jimmy coming back in, and number 18, Tato Tesolo, coming in for Earlham. Number 2, Sergio Dole, coming in for MSJ. Number 12, David Crosby, and also and that's your subs. 13 minutes remaining in this second half. Throw in coming up for the Quakers. Pearson will throw it in. Approaching the 18, but Chambers will come out and kick it away. Out of bounds, a throw in coming up for the Quakers. Stroszewski passing it ahead. Caesar trying to track it down, but it goes out of bounds. And a goal kick coming up for the Lions. Couple more substitutions. Daniel Good now checking back into the game for MSJ, and Chima Nduku in the game for the Quakers. Out of bounds, throw in coming in from Mount St. Joe. 11 and a half minutes remaining in the second half. Going to give you an update on what's going on in the HCAC with the scores between the other 4 games. Throw in coming up for Mount St. Joe. Cecil throws it in. Tesolo will kick it out of the 18 off of Caesar. Caesar saves it from going out of bounds, and it is kicked out of bounds by Crosby, so a throw-in coming up for Earlham. So giving you some updates on the ACAC with Defiance beats Franklin 2-1. Hanover is trailing Manchester 1-0 with less than 10 minutes remaining in that game. The shot from Dewyer caught by Chambers. Rose Holman leads Bluffton 2-0 with under 6 minutes remaining in the game. And with 30 minutes remaining in the first half, Anderson and Transylvania are both tied 0-0. Again, after this game, both soccer teams, women and men's, will be back here on Wednesday versus Transylvania. MSJ has the possession taken from him. Chima Nduku dribbling. And he tries to find Kimball, but nice defensive play from Bailey. And Mount St. Joe will be at Rose Holman on Wednesday. Whistle blown, foul called against Mount St. Joe. A free kick coming up for the Quakers. 9 minutes remaining in the second half. Earlham trailing 3-1. Free kick. Either Wilgen or Nduku will have the kick for the Quakers. It looks like it will be Wilgen. And the pass is off of Kimball. And Kimball's kick right in front of Chambers, who collects it for the Lions. Dole in the 18, he takes the shot. Nice save from Cowrich. And it goes out of bounds. And a corner kick now coming from the Lions, as it looks like number 21, Noah Widener, will do the honors for the Lions. A corner kick from Widener goes off of Dole. I'd say 20. Few headers from each team. Ball goes out of bounds, and a throw-in coming up for actually a foul called against Jimmy, so a free kick coming up for MSJ. We're approaching 7 minutes remaining in the game. Off of Cecil, Jeffrey Dewyer. Connor Kimball passes it up to Drew Fitzgibbon. Inside the 18, but cut off by Schmoozer. Corner kick coming up for the Quakers. Number 16, Wilgen, will do the honors for the Quakers. Wilgen's corner kick deflected off of Mount St. Joe. Bellick with the shot, and it sails over the goal, and another goal kick coming up for Mount St. Joe. Substitution, number 4, Ivis, coming in for number 11, Daniel Good. Goal kick is off the head of Cecil. Wider approaching the 18, but Pearson kicks it out of bounds, so a throw-in coming up for MSJ. Actually, the throw-in for the Quakers. Fuseji trying to pass up to Chima, but deflected off Schmoozer. Tesolo trying to run down, but Ivis is there for MSJ. Kicked out of bounds off of Earlham, so a throw-in coming up for the Quakers. Number 14, Cecil, will throw it in for the Lions. Ball sailed out of bounds. Corner kick coming up for Mount St. Joe. Number 21, Widener, will have the kick for I'd be pissed. Ivis now just standing there with the ball. We're under 4 minutes remaining in this second half. Kicked out of bounds by the Quakers. Another throw-in. Whistle blown. Violation against MSJ. Earlham tried to go a little too quick. Free kick. Bellick passing it up ahead for Fuseji. Passes it back to Solo. Dole now dribbling deep in the Quaker territory, passing it ahead, trying to find Widener in a foot race with Pearson. Pearson will pass it ahead to Kimball, but cut off by Schmoozer. Wilgen dribbling now, passing it ahead to Jimmy. One-on-one. Jimmy gets by the goalkeeper Chambers, and Jimmy's kick is actually saved by Phelps. Good God, what a save by Phelps. I can't front. Phelps, that might have been the best save I've seen all season. That is a perfect example of never giving up on a play. Phelps could have easily gave up on that play. They're up by 2 with 2 minutes to go, but that is perfect example of never giving up on a play, looks like. Stoppage in play. The referees. Another yellow card going against the Quakers. Foul called against Mount St. Joe, so a free kick coming up for Earlham. Another stoppage in time. The head referee is not happy about something. I am not quite sure. But we're resuming action. The pass from Wilgen off of Mount St. Joe outside the 18 and kicked away by Phelps. And a throw-in coming up for Earlham. Under a minute remaining in the game, and barring a miracle, Mount St. Joe will go to 1-0 in conference. And just outside the goal is Fitzgibbon. Fitzgibbon's shot is outside the goal, and a goal kick coming up for Mount St. Joe. Actually, it was deflected, so a corner kick coming up for Earlham. But again, barring a miracle, Earlham will fall to 0-1 in conference and 1-7-2 overall. Mount St. Joe will improve to 3-8. We're at 20 seconds. Off of Phelps. The shot from Kimball sails far left, and it was deflected off of Mount St. Joe, so another corner kick, but we're at 5 seconds. 4, 3, 2, 1. And that will be the game as Mount St. Joe takes down Earlham by a final score of 3-1. As I said, improves or goes 1-0 in the ACAC, and Earlham falls to 0-1. 1-7-2 overall. Mount St. Joe improves to 3-8 overall. Again, we will all see you back here Wednesday as our both women's and men's soccer team will take on Transylvania in another conference game. So that being said, that's going to do it for us here in the booth. This has been Radio Troy here, and we'll all see you guys on Wednesday for both games, women and men's soccer. I am Gerardo Byrne. This has been Radio Troy. We will all see you next time.